Good afternoon. Hello.
Jen, I think, are we still in practice mode or did it go?
No, Julie, I see everyone's here.
Everybody's in? Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. Welcome.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for an overview of the standards of quality for family strengthening and support. If you are joining us online, you may listen directly through your computer speakers. If you have joined via the phone number that Zoom provided, your line has been muted to minimize the background noise. For those of you online, please note the link to the Dropbox folder in the chat that Felipe is going to drop. Here you will see that there are some handouts available to download for you to use for future reference. In addition, you may put questions in the question section at any time. The chat section is open for you to include any comments during the webinar, but we ask that you direct all your questions to that question and answer section of Zoom. If you are having tech issues, our live tech support will be here to help you. It says NFSN Tech in front of his name, Felipe. I will try to get to all your questions at the end of the webinar, or Julie will help you get to all of your questions at the end of the webinar. And if unable to, then a staff member from the NFSN will reach out and follow up about after the webinar. So today's PowerPoint, the handouts, and a recording of this webinar will be available on the NFSN website on the Webinar Wednesday page this time tomorrow. So you will have access to all of those documents and things. When you exit the webinar, there is an evaluation that will automatically appear on your screen. Please take the time to fill out that evaluation. We want you to be completely honest with your feedback. We value your feedback tremendously. It helps us inform our future webinars. So I am Jennifer Johnson Denji, the Training Development Manager here at NFSN. I am one of two presenters. I am excited to be here today because I absolutely love the standards. And I don't just say that because I helped develop the training here. I absolutely love it. Before I came to NFSN, I signed up for a training that randomly came across my email, and it was the standards, and I signed up for it. I took the training and was completely in awe after being in the field for 18 years and listening to the trainers talk about the common language, the different sections of the standards that really related to the work that we did. It was just amazing to me that in 18 years that one, I didn't have it before, but that it existed and that we all could speak the same language and in a way that made the work that we do sustainable to all families. So super excited to be here today and talk about the standards. And alongside me is Julie Matusik. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. So great to be here with you all. I'm Julie Matusik, co-executive director for the National Family Support Network, and I've been part of the NFSN team for about 8 years. And prior to that, I have roots in family resource centers, which is where I was first introduced to the standards. I'll share more about that later as we're talking about the standards and how we can use them. But so great to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Julie. So now let's get an idea of who is on the webinar with us. So here you see how we have divided the nation into different regions, and we want to know, where are you joining us from? So please take a moment to complete that poll. We'll kind of pause and give you a couple of seconds. Choose which region. Are you from the West, Midwest? Are you South like me? Are you in the Northeast? Excellent, excellent. And Felipe, will you go ahead and close that poll for us? Let's see where everyone's joining us from. A whopping 40% of us are from West. All right. Then we have 28% from the Midwest 24% from South, and 8% representing the Northeast. We're so glad to see a variety of people here from all over the United States because it truly adds to what we do. It talks about the relevance of the standards across the United States, in Canada, in Hawaii, Alaska, all of the things. So we're super glad to see the representation across the nation. All right. Let's talk a little bit about what is your role. Felipe, will you drop that, or what is your affiliation? So are you a part of a family resource center? Are you a part of a family resource center network? Maybe you're a part of some other family support program. Are you a parent leader? We love, love, love our parent leaders. Are you a part of early care and education, government? If you'll just take a couple of seconds to fill out this poll. We want to know who you are. And if you are other, we would love for you to drop that into the chat. What is the other? We want to make sure that we know everybody who's in the room. Give you guys a couple more seconds to fill that out. And then Felipe will go ahead and close that poll. Let's see. Oh, we got a lot of diversity in this poll. So let's start out with our largest number is 26% of us are a part of family resource centers. You guys are in the centers. You guys are doing the amazing work. 19% of us are part of family resource center networks. We'll get to learn about how many networks are part of the National Family Support Network here in a little bit. Then we have a three-way tie for 11%. Some of you are part of family support programs throughout the United States, just other ones. We have some of us are part of the educational system, some of us are part of government, and then we have some in early care and education and some in child welfare. So we are so excited to welcome all of you here to the table to have conversations about the standards and how they can apply to your work in your states, in your cities, in your family resource centers, in the government. It truly, when we talk about the standards, we talk about family support in general, and it really does set that common language for the family support field across job backgrounds, roles, affiliations. So super excited that you guys are here today. We're going to talk a little bit about, now that we've learned about you, who are we at the National Family Support Network? So the National Family Support Network over the last decade has truly quadrupled in size. So we are now at 39 member networks, which includes 38 states and DC, that represent more than 3,000 family resource centers and serves more than 2 million people annually. So from 2011, when we were only 8, we're now at 39. Super amazing. The newest members of the National Family Support Network are Oregon. They joined in early 2025, and Missouri, who joined in June of 2025. So super excited to have all of you all here and to learn a little bit more about NFSN. Let's talk about our mission and vision. So what is the mission of NFSN? It is to promote positive outcomes for all children, all families, and communities by truly leveraging the collective impact of state family resource center networks and championing quality family support and strengthening practices and policies. We want you to know you are not in this alone. Whether you're in California, Texas, Vermont, we're in this together, and we can truly learn from each other and having that shared learning environment. And that's what NFSN offers. What is our vision? Our vision, simply stated, is a nation in which every single family is thriving. And we know this when we see that every state has strong and effective family resource center networks. So that's what we aim for in our vision and our mission. And you guys are a part of that. So let's talk about our areas of work. So NFSN has 3 core areas of work. The first one, connecting and convening member networks to enhance their effectiveness. We can all do the work in silos, but in connection, we can do even better work and greater work together and really help our families move into that thriving. So increasing connectedness amongst members for peer learning and mutual support. Our second area of work is promoting family support best practices and evaluations. I love the word evaluation, which is, talking about raising awareness of what quality family support is. So having that common language of the standards and evaluation and of it through the national implementation of the standards of quality for family strengthening support. So our third core area is raising the visibility of the value and impact of family strengthening and support networks. So, in order to strengthen and increase support for families, we help strengthen those networks. What are we going to do today over the next hour or so? We're going to do a background of the standards. We're going to give you an overview of the standards. We're going to do some talk about standards implementation. So on a program level and on a systems level, we're going to do Q&A. Bring all your questions, put them in the chat because we want to help you answer those questions. We want to make sure when you leave today, you're like, yes, I get it. And I love it too. Um, and then we're going to go over resources and opportunities because there are plenty of resources available. And we want to make sure that you stay connected as you all continue your family support work. And then we're going to do an evaluation. Evaluation is key to all of the work that we do so we can continually improve what we do. So focusing on families, our focus is on families who are responsible for raising children. These families consist of at least one adult and one child who are related, whether they're related biologically, emotionally, or legally. Families may consist of one parent, two parents, grandparents, foster parents, legal guardians, or may arise from a mutual need of support. Let's talk a little bit of history. Where did these standards come from? Where did that common language come from? So in 2012, the California Network of Family Strengthening Networks developed the standards of quality for family strengthening and support. And then in 2013, the National Family Support Network adopted those standards for national implementation. We said, Cali, this is amazing. We now want it across the United States and further. In 2020 to 2021, the National Family Support Network engaged members, they engaged parent leaders, engaged our Canadian partners, and CSSP to review and revise the standards with a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion and international relevance. We wanted it to be accessible to all. And what did that look like? Then in 2025, this year, earlier, the executive order on DEI directed federal agencies to review organizations implementing DEI initiatives for potential compliance investigations. So, as a nonpartisan organization, NFSN truly consulted their advisors, their experts, and national partners to identify the most responsible course of action. The recommendation has been to remove the DEI related language, including the standards, until revised terminology is developed. In order to truly safeguard our members and funding, the NFSN remains fully committed to its core values while navigating this external challenge with care. Recognizing states' differences, the National Family Support Network defers to each network's leadership to determine how do they best engage with DEI contact in their local context. The importance of standards. So not only have we told you that we love the standards, we want to tell you why they're so important. They truly help ensure that families are supported and have access to be able to thrive and get strengthened through quality practice. They create a common language and expectations across different kinds of family strengthening programs. When you think about common language, other fields have common language, doctors, healthcare, education. The standards created that for family support. They were designed to be used by every single body, all stakeholders. We wanted public departments to have access, foundations, community based organizations, and families as a tool for planning, for providing and assessing quality practice. So You can find a lot of the tools and our standards available for free, free, on our NFSN website. So www.nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org/standards. You can find those standards and the implementation tools. We are not selling the standards. We want everyone to have access to them and to think about quality work with their families. And so again, you can reference that at www.nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org/standards. So let's talk about the application of the standards. So we talked about a little bit about the history. We talked about the importance. Who can use these? How to use them? As we learned from the poll, we have so many different people in the room today and that will watch this webinar over time. And we want you to know the application of the standards applies to everyone in the room, whether you're a policymaker. We want you to be able to endorse those applications in your area of influence. Whether you're direct service staff working hands-on with the families, you can reflect on and enhance your work with families. That's what I did. When I was a family support specialist, I utilized the standards. I put them on my office wall and looked at them and reflected on them on a regular basis. Whether you're a part of family strengthening and support programs, you can use them as a blueprint for implementing best practices. Do those self-assessments, right? Now you have a way to assess and evaluate the programs that you support. And not only assess and evaluate, now we can demonstrate what true quality looks like. Um, Whether you're a network of family strengthening and support providers, you can do that quality assurance check. You can do training and technical assistance. You can adopt as expectation for membership and funders. You can integrate it into your request for proposals. You can monitor and look at that quality assurance. Families, we want you to use the standards and apply the standards when you partner with programs to apply them. We want you to be able to provide feedback about how well the program is applying those standards and showing up and supporting you all. The application of this standards requires commitment from every single body, all levels of program responsibility. We're talking about families. We want you there. We need you when we apply the standards. Parent leaders, ambassadors, champions, whatever you call them. We need you at the table. Direct service staff, you guys are doing the work with the families. We want you at the table to apply those standards. We know that if we apply the standards from every single level, from families to executive directors to managers to coordinators, if everybody is applying it, then families truly have the ability to thrive in an environment that has the best practices for family support and strengthening.
Okay, and I will walk us through the next portion. Thank you, Jen, for kicking us off. So, looking at the standards are based on two foundational frameworks. So, you may have heard of these before today. The first is the principles of family support practice that were developed by Family Support America. That organization has since sunset, but the principles continue to live on through the incredible work of the standards. And the other is the research-based and evidence-informed Strengthening Families 5 Protective Factor framework. So, before we dive into the first framework, curious if you may have heard of the principles of family support before today. And Felipe was going to launch a poll here. So, let us know if you've heard of this framework before today. All right, take just another moment if you haven't responded just yet. Okay, let's take a peek at those results. Wow, looks like that's so close to 50-50, but more than half of you have heard of the principles before today. So that is wonderful. Great. So we'll cover these at a high level, a little refresher for those of you that are familiar, and for those of you that are not yet, you'll be able to say you are in just a few minutes. So um, Talking about the principles here, the first one is that staff and families work together in relationships based on equality and on respect. So, this principle does not seem so revolutionary today, but at the time it was written, it presented quite a challenge to the system. At the time, the prevailing wisdom was that the staff were the experts with their education, their knowledge, and their experience, and that their goal was to quote unquote fix the problem family. And this principle really challenged that notion by saying that staff and families are actually equal. And the staff do, of course, come to the table with their education, their knowledge, and their experience. But the families, they bring immense value as well. They bring their strengths, their resources, and they are the most knowledgeable about their past experience. And it is by working as partners in relationships based on equality and on respect that will achieve the best outcomes for families. The second principle is that the staff enhance families' capacity to support growth in the development of all family members, adults, youth, and children. So, this really emphasizes that we in this field really look at the whole family, not just the individual. If we are only looking at one member of the family, then we might invite the rest of the family to other activities. We really want to extend that invitation, and we do know that when multiple family members are involved, that the family is more likely to have better outcomes. The third principle is that families are resources to their own members, to other families, to programs, and to their communities. So, unique to this perspective is that we do not see staff as having all of the answers or doing all of the work to support families. Families themselves are encouraged to support other families. And there really is a strong emphasis on connecting families to share resources such as information and peer support. Let's look at the next few. So, the fourth principle is that programs affirm and strengthen families' cultural, racial, and linguistic identities and enhance their ability to function in a multicultural society. So, this principle has two parts that are equally important. The first is all about respecting and welcoming the diversity that families bring, be that linguistic, cultural, family structure, and the second is about preparing them for and connecting them with a larger community where they will naturally interact with people very different from themselves. This really supports them to fully participate in the wonderful society in which we live. And Principle five says that programs are embedded in their communities and contribute to the community building process. So, programs, they are not just seeing themselves as simply social service providers, but as community builders as well. By really strengthening families, they make a key contribution to the health of their own communities. They really also work to develop families' responsibility and their leadership for strengthening and building their communities. Principle six says that programs advocate with families for services and systems that are fair, responsive, and accountable to the families served. So think about some of the different systems that families are commonly interacting with: education, healthcare, the legal system. Would you say that all of these systems are fair and responsive and accountable? Often not. So that's really where our work comes in as family support providers to work with families to help improve these systems. And then the last three principles here. So, principle seven is that practitioners work with families to mobilize formal and informal resources to support family development. So, you'll see there in that sentence, there's a strong emphasis in the family support field on resources. And the most common type of family support program is actually called a family resource center. And so, right in the name, the emphasis being on resources. And of course, no one program can provide all of the direct supports that one family might need. It's our responsibility to know how to connect them to them. Principle eight: programs are flexible and continually responsive to emerging family and community issues. So, this concept of flexibility and responsiveness It's really important in this field because neighborhoods and communities change. Issues emerge that really can affect families. Economic downturns, pandemics, all of the things. And so programs really need to be flexible and be able to adapt and respond to these changes. The last principle is that this principle framework, they are modeled in all program activities, including planning, governance, and administration. So, this principle is kind of the catch all principle. And it says that all of the above principles should be applied in everything that we're doing, whether it's planning, governance, administration, everything in between. These principles really have implications for how we develop programs, how they're led, and how we support our staff. So let's turn to our next framework. So this is the 5 protective factors. We'll launch a poll just to see if anybody has heard of these before today. All right, take another second if you haven't had a chance to respond yet. All right, let's take a peek at those results. Okay, not so surprisingly, looks like most of you have heard of this framework before today. It's still widely used and very, very relevant in our field. So it's great to see that you've heard of that before today. Thank you so much for letting us know. And for those of you that haven't, we'll get you oriented here real quick. So this framework was developed by the Center for the Study of Social Policy in 2005. It's research based, it's evidence informed. And it has been shown to increase family stability, enhance child development, and reduce the likelihood of child abuse and neglect. And so the 5 protective factors are here on the screen. And if you go online to the Center for the Study of Social Policy, you can really dive in. There's trainings, there's all sorts of things if you really like to dive into them. But at a high level, they are parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need. We need housing, we need clothing, we need shelter, we need all of these things, right? Knowledge of parenting and child development, and social and emotional competence of children. All these are so important to really protect our families. So that is the second framework that the standards are based upon. And now let's talk about the standards themselves. So here you can see the sections of the standards that each represent key elements of quality practice as we are working with families. So family centeredness, family strengthening, community strengthening, and evaluation are the areas of practice that the standards focuses on. And so there's standards themselves. And then each standard includes 1 to 2 sets of indicators of both foundational and high quality. The foundational quality indicators demonstrate the basic application of the standard. And then the programs really can build on that foundational quality indicators to achieve high quality indicators, which represent that deeper integration into that standard. And then, so we'll look more specifically at the indicators in just a moment. So after that, let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So looking at the standards again, if you haven't already had a chance to download them, when you do, you'll see in the standards that each indicator is followed by 2 to 4 examples from the field that illustrate its application. So these examples, they're not a checklist. They're meant to be illustrators and really give you an idea of what this can look like in action. When you take the training, the certification training on the standards, I'll share more a little bit about that in a few. A significant focus on that training is on participants having the space to think of their own examples that really demonstrate these indicators in ways that are relevant to their own work. And as the programs are applying these standards, they are encouraged to identify their own examples that really demonstrate the indicators in ways that are relevant to their own communities. So, with the quality indicators, we talk about them being at foundational and high quality. So, foundational quality indicators, these really create a solid foundation for the field, for the family support programs. And foundational quality indicators, they are designed to be met within the basic resources of a typical family support and strengthening program. And then high quality indicators are built upon those foundational quality indicators being in place first. We aren't just jumping to high quality, we have to have that foundation under us. Programs are encouraged to strive to meet high quality in order to serve families most effectively, though. And some of the high quality indicators, they might require additional capacity building or additional resources to meet. So looking at the continuum on the bottom of the screen here, you see that we're starting on the left with foundational quality not yet addressed. We all start somewhere, right? And then we're approaching foundational quality, and then we're meeting foundational quality. And this is where quality begins. And then we can continue to grow, continue to move along this continuum to approach high quality, and then meet both foundational and high quality. You'll see at the bottom, the arrow keeps going after we've already met both foundational and high quality. This is because quality improvement, it's an ongoing and continuous process. That's why high quality is not called maximum quality. So, implementing these standards, it's very much a developmental process. And it's common that programs, you might see yourselves at aspects of your work at different points along the quality continuum. As we go through the standards today a bit, you might determine that you're already doing quality work in various areas. And hopefully, we're always wanting to grow, right? Hopefully, we can identify areas to work on further. So, for the first sections of the standards, so family centeredness, family strengthening, and community strengthening, this arrow is what we use to move from foundational to high quality. So, on the left, we see that foundational quality, and on the right, high quality, which of course represents that deeper integration of the standards into the program. What moves us from foundational high quality is the elements in the arrow. So, formal structure. So, these are things like design, policies, procedures, intentional strategies with committed resources that ensure consistency of practice, staff training to support the implementation of the standard, family partnership, partnering with families in the implementation of the standard. So each of these elements helps to ensure that the standards are more deeply integrated into program practice. For example, at foundational quality, we may do something that is good practice, but how are we ensuring that it wasn't just a one-time occurrence? Whereas at high quality, we've actually set up systems and training and or we have partnered with families to ensure that it continues to happen. And the particular elements and the number of elements needed for high quality, it differs for various indicator pairs. So sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's all three. But it's never anything other than these that move us to high quality. So take a look at a standard here. So this one, the standard FC1, the program engages the families to participate in program development and implementation. So that's the standard. And then the foundational and high quality indicator are just below that in the blue text. So the foundational quality indicator is that the program solicits input from families to shape and plan the program and services. In the high quality indicator, the program's design supports partnering with families to have an active role in the development of and implementation of the program. So, as you can see in the arrow, formal structure and family partnership are the elements that move us here from foundational to high quality. And here's the evaluation arrow. So this is the last section of the standards, and evaluation is so special, it gets its own arrow. So as with the arrow that we used in the first sections of the standards, we see foundational quality on the left and high quality on the right, which represents deeper integration. but the elements in the arrow are different. So the elements for this section, the first is data analysis. So collecting data is foundational quality, but really analyzing the data is what moves us to high quality. Sharing evaluation results. So we're sharing these results with various stakeholders, such as the families that we're working with. And then program modification. This means changing the program as a result of what we learned from evaluation. We aren't just doing evaluation for evaluation's sake. We actually are doing something with it. All right. I want to share with you some tools that are available, and we'll walk through these. The first is the program self assessment tool. This is designed for program teams and managers, direct service staff, parent leaders to reflect on standards implementation and quality improvement. This tool is designed to be used as a critical thinking exercise by program teams. So, managers, direct service staff, parent leaders, all coming together to be able to think about this. So, it's recommended that all team members involved in using this tool has been trained on the standards first. It's so important to have that strong foundation. The second tool is the staff reflection tool. So, this has self reflection questions for staff members to use as daily reminders to implement the standards. And this is meant to be that ongoing reminder of how we're implementing these. Staff are encouraged to put this in a place that they can see it, such as over their desks. I actually, when I first was trained on the standards, that's exactly what I did. In our family resource center, I had it above my desk and in my space. And that was really helpful for me to have that as a reminder. The standards participant survey. This shows how well the program is meeting the standards from the participant's point of view. It's not a typical satisfaction survey at all. The questions really mirror those on the staff checklist. So if a staff member is mindful of these questions, then the program participants are likely to give it high scores as well. And all of these tools are available on the NFSN website and are included in the standard certification training. So you can download these, they're free resources. We want to make sure that these are accessible to folks in the field. So if you click on standards on the website and drop down to implementation tools, you'll be able to find them. Okay, and we talked a lot about training, and what's going to highlight just a bit about this key strategy. So, it really is fundamental for implementing the standards effectively. And the certification training, this is it's in person or virtual. They're offered across the country in both ways, and it's designed for management and direct service staff as well as for funders, policymakers. Anyone is really welcome in the field. It's so helpful. And participants receive a certificate that is valid for 2 years. And so we're so glad you're here for this webinar today. But just as a reminder, this itself is not the training. This is designed to help you get your feet wet and really get familiar with the standards and what they can do, how they can support you. And the certificate training, there's a certificate provided with that and stuff, of course. So I'll share more on how you can get engaged with that in just a little bit. So the certification training, this is conducted by pairs of trained trainers from member networks of the National Family Support Network. So networks, funders, other stakeholders can also contract with the NFSN to host a certification training for programs in your state if there's not already trainers. And programs are highly encouraged to come as teams of both management and direct service staff because this training, it really is essential. Having that successful application of the standards really requires the commitment and the support of all levels of program responsibility. So, with this training, individuals are certified, so not organizations, which really integrates the standards into everyone's daily work. It also provides a professional credential for staff. And all of these trainings are done live because the group work is in the peer sharing are so very important and very valuable to the process of learning about the standards. So the other training part with this is the Training of Trainer Institute. So this is done either we had used to do it in person, we still can, but do most of them virtually now, and over a period of several partial days. And so representatives of NFSN member networks can develop trained trainers to become certified in their areas. So you actually would be able to offer this training in your state as a network representative. And this is intentional, that it's just the network representatives that are delivering the training, because it really supports the network's capacity building and establishes a unique and essential and ongoing role for them within their system of support for families in their state. So speaking of training, just want to share with you the most updated map. Oh, and I apologize, the side is cut off there, but you can see over the past little over a decade, there's been over 20,000 people trained across the country in these states that are blue on the map. And it's just incredible to see the momentum that they can continue to gain. And you can see where the trainings have been offered. That last column that's cut off a little bit, that is the number of trainers that are training on behalf of each of the member networks in these states and delivering the training. So just a little bit of data from the certification trainings. After the trainings, we always ask, what did you think? How have you used this? And the majority of respondents indicate that these standards did in fact enhance their work with families. And they're also letting us know that they are using those implementation tools and finding them helpful to better serve families. And here's just a couple of quotes that really stood out to us um, from participants that were trained in the standards. I'll give you a moment to read those. So as you can see here, the standards really help validate existing work that's already being done, benchmarking it to national best practice. And with thinking about NFSN member networks, I know we have some on the call today. So it's so great you're here with us today and part of this conversation. So, want to share just briefly a bit about the network aspect that networks have formed and expanded through offering the standard certification training. One example is out of Arizona. Their network, they provided this common language for providers across the state and established a key role in it was the Maricopa Family Support Alliance at the time, really in promoting quality practice within their system of care. And as a result, the Alliance grew from 21 to 72 agencies in just a few short years. And so networks really can strengthen their capacity and sustainability through developing trained trainers. And all funds are generated through the standard certification training are invested back into supporting networks. And in order to ensure the accessibility and affordability of the standard certification training, networks, the NFSN, there is a range that can be charged participants to make sure that it's affordable and accessible. And while it does contribute to sustainability, it is still accessible. So, wanted to share a bit about that from the network aspect. And now I want to think more about the program implementation. So I know many of you here today for today's webinar are representative of family support programs, family resource centers, working directly with families at the program level. So this tool you might find particularly helpful. This is also on the website I had shared with you. If you go to the standards implementation page on the National Network website. So encourage you to download it. I know it's probably a bit hard to read with the screen here, small font, but just want to walk you through high level. There's the various steps at the top, and then there's sample activities for each of those. and the resources that are available to you as you're implementing the standards, and then the potential cost associated with each of those steps. So this is it's available for download. Check it out. This is a helpful roadmap as you're thinking about using the standards. And I'll take a moment just to share a bit about what program implementation looked like for me when I was working for a family resource center at the program level. So prior to my joining the NFSN team back in 2018, I managed a family resource center in upstate New York. And when I began working for this family resource center, we were doing great work. We were implementing the Strengthening Families Protective Factor framework that we talked about earlier. Other FRCs across the state were also using that framework. We were using the protective factor survey. We had drop-in opportunities. We had the space where folks could come in. It was accessible. It was a wonderful hub. Parent-child groups and activities provided different education and connection opportunities. We did the ages and stages questionnaire screening, information and referrals. We had a supervised visitation program, different community events. So really a great, strong community hub in the area. And then in 2016, the network, the New York State network, contracted with the National Family Support Network to bring the standards of quality to family resource centers in New York State. So managers, directors, direct service staff from across the state participated in this training. And so 12 of us actually became trainers across the state, really to create more capacity in the state as we were implementing the standards. And through this implementation of the standards, our Family Resource Center saw that the standards were very much enhancing the work that we were already doing. We were able to increase childcare offerings for parent education classes to better meet parents and their needs and ensure that we were really reducing as many barriers as possible to participation. We really intentionally improve partnerships with parents. We were reminded just how important that is. We can get so engrossed in our day to day, but just being reminded of how foundational it is to engage parents' voice in the leadership capacity. The staff began to work with families more to complete parent identified needs and goals, recognizing that the parents are the experts on their families. The standards really gave us the structure to increase the formal structure around outreach strategies. So, not creating extra work, really working smarter, not harder with our efforts. The standards also really helped us to improve our database and tracking systems, including the analysis of the data, which is the most important part, right? Making sure that our programs are doing exactly what we wanted them to do. And the standards, they really helped us to create new opportunities to educate and parents on advocacy and leadership and engage them. Um, and also through the adoption of the standards, we realized how crucial it was to have parents formally at the table to help us develop and to plan programming. Just 2 short months after having participated in the standard certification training, I had the chance to participate in the NFSN's very first PAC training to really gather the concrete tools to start a parent advisory committee. And once we started that, it was so exciting to see the enhanced ownership that families had that were coming to the center. So, a bit about my journey and how I seen the standards in action. And thank you for giving me the space to share that. Just it was exciting to see, and it's so exciting to see folks using and learning them across the country. So, taking it up a level from the program level to the network level, this is the network implementation continuum. So, I know we have at least several state representatives on today. And really, if you're working at any systems level, this is going to be really helpful for you to implement the standard. So, again, sample steps at the top, sample activities just below, the resources that are available to you as you're implementing these standards and the potential cost associated with them. So this again is available for download on the Standards Implementation Tool website if you would like to download it and use it as a tool. Want to share a couple of network implementation examples. These are just examples. Again, not a checklist, but just to share some ways that other systems have used the standards. So this one comes out of the San Francisco network, and this shows how they use their standards. And they used a three-pronged strategy to integrate the standards into training, evaluation, and membership. And of course, we do encourage every network to develop their own plan. All of these systems need to have their own roadmap. This diagram is an example of how another organization has tiered their trainings for staff. And so this model, all staff, so regardless of roles, complete the certification training. Like that's the foundation, regardless of their role. Like that is the foundation for their organization. And then those that are working with families directly and their supervisors, they are completing a Strengthening Families training offered by the Children's Trust Fund Alliance. And then the staff that are working directly with families in these closer knit roles, they are completing a family development credential. So this is just an example of how some of these systems are using the standards as their foundation for making their system most effective in serving families in the best possible way. So just some things to think about, how the standards might be helpful for you. There's so many different things to think about, right? Um, we've found and we've heard from participants, they really deepen practice. They establish a common language. So if I'm working in a family resource center and someone else in the field is working in childcare resource and referral in a school, we can have this common language. It creates new partnership opportunities. It really gives us an opportunity to utilize shared measurement systems and to do something concrete in this world to advance this quality support and really be part of a national movement. So, some suggested next steps. We used to always get questions afterward, like, "Okay, I'm excited about this, but what do I do next?" So, um, the one of the first things, if you haven't already, download the standards and review them. The standards themselves, they are available for free. Anyone can access them on the NFSN website. So you go to nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org, hover over standards, drop down to overview, and you can download them right there. You can review possible next steps along those two continua. So those are in the handouts that Felipe put in the chat, and they're also on the website. You can participate in a certification training. So, if you're in a state that's currently offering trainings, tap into that resource. Connect with folks in your state that are offering the training. And if not, if you're a funder or in states where there's not trainers yet, reach out to the NFSN and we would be happy to help you and support you in that space. All right. This is a time where I have done a lot of talking and want to invite you all to ask any questions that you have. So there is a Q&A panel on your Zoom panel. So on your Zoom panel, there should say Q&A. So take a moment to click on that. Enter in any questions that you might have. We'll do our best to answer these live. And I'm going to go over a couple of resources while you're thinking of your questions. I know it's a lot of pressure right on the spot, so we'll share some other resources with you that are available to you. So the first is our webinar Wednesdays. So this, as you know, you made your way here today. This is a free series that raises awareness about the incredible work happening in this field. And so there's other ones coming up. Strongly encourage you to take the opportunity to see what is coming up. I know there's one on blending and braiding funding, which is so very important. And where we are in 2025, I know that's going to be a really popular one, and there's other ones as well. So really encourage you to check out the schedule. You can scan the QR code here or go to the website and click on Webinar Wednesday. Let's see. So certification training. So if you are, you can go to the National Network website to see if there's any trainings offered in your state. And if there's not, join one of our virtual NFSN ones. We would love to have you there. And I believe there's still some space in the October one. It is filling right up, but these are our last two for 2025, which seems crazy. But it's about that time. So take the opportunity to scan, or you can go on the website. And I had mentioned, I know for me, it was essential participating in the training. And since then, the training has been updated and enhanced and just really came to life with even more examples. Still, it's rooted in the foundation of the standards as its core framework, but really gives us examples of how we can move forward with it. So, whether you have an existing parent advisory committee or wanting to strengthen a new one, whichever, anywhere in between, this is a really great training. There's two facilitators, one who brings perspective of a parent that's participated in parent advisory committees. So that real life experience is so valuable. And this one, I do know there is some space in this as well, but just a handful of slots. So definitely register if you're interested in that. And the another training is the Connect with Effect outreach training. So this training, this is one of our newer offerings, but it's been out for about a year now, I believe. And trainers have shared um, that like when participants first join the training, they'll say things like, "Oh, I don't really do outreach. That's not really my job." May have a marketing person, which is lovely for them, but that they're not doing the outreach. But then really thinking about it by the end of the training, just this aha moment of like, we all are doing outreach. This is for all levels. We all play a key role in outreach, so it's not about creating flyers. Like this isn't that training. And Jen had shared with me, and I love it, so I wrote it down. She's one of the facilitators for this training. That it's not informational, it's relational, which is the foundation, right? So, strongly encourage you to check out this training. It's a partial day training, single day training, and it's a really good one. So, encourage you to check that out too. Again, based on the foundation of the standards and how we deepen this best practice of working with families. Okay, last slide, and then we'll see if there's any questions. Um, One other thing to highlight, this is coming up just next month, and we're so excited about it. The Family Support Summit. This will spotlight three of the most requested and timely areas for members and folks across the country, training participants. Just really excited to elevate the topics of father engagement, parent leadership, and program sustainability. This program sustainability theme is so key in where we are as a nation, and it's woven throughout the summit, really showing how elevating family voices and strengthening community partnerships really directly contributes to lasting impacts. So participants will walk away with practical strategies that you can use right away. From blending and braiding funding streams to engaging the private sector, writing stronger grants, positioning programs to really thrive in the future. So this is a two partial day summit. It'll feature keynote presentations, interactive workshops, and topical panels. So the speakers and sessions will be announced soon. So stay tuned for those. And there's a special bundle. Actually, if you're interested, there is only a handful left, but there are still some left to access the bundle of registering for both this Family Support Summit and the Parent Advisory Committee training in October. So there's a discounted rate for that. Okay, I'm going to put Jen's contact information here up on the slide for you. And that way, if you have questions for her after today, I'll leave that up here. But if there's any other questions, definitely put them in the chat or into the Q&A panel. So there's a link, asking for the link in the chat. Thank you, Felipe, for putting in the materials link. That's super helpful. And then our NFSN website link in there. And all of the trainings that I registered, the webinars that I had mentioned, all of those are right on that homepage. And then you also can navigate over to resources and then drop down to trainings, and that's where there's more information too. But registration for all of the trainings and events that I mentioned are right on that homepage. And Adriana, good question. The prices for the trainings, I don't have it in front of me. They all are actually a little bit different, but intentionally kept very affordable to make sure that everyone can be thinking about how to do this work in a quality way. And um, I know there's amazing work happening across the country, and how we can all continue to learn and grow is so helpful. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, if you happen to think of any, you can reach out to our team at any time. Jen's email is here, and you can also email us at info@nationalfamilysupportnetwork.org. And we'd be happy to get you anything. If you can't find it on the website, just let us know. And so let's say thank you so much for being here today and for joining us for the webinar. Just as a reminder, when you leave today, a brief evaluation will appear on your screen when you exit. We really appreciate your feedback. We're beginning to plan 2026 and do genuinely use your input to plan for future webinars. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.